Hi, it's Fiona from Longsight Library here again with another craft session. So this session I'm going to show you how to make your very own Elmer, the patchwork elephant. This is a great craft. I really enjoyed making Elmer, and there's two reasons for me why it's great. The first one is it's from one of my favourite books. So there it is, Elmer by David McKee, which actually says 30 years old. He's 31 years old this year. And the other great reason is that it's doing some recycling. So we're using a milk carton to make Elmer, and you can use any size. So these are the things that you're going to need: a milk carton, a clean milk carton, so make sure you wash it out thoroughly. And then these are the other things you will need: some card for the ears and the eyes, scissors, glue. PVA is good, which watered down. You can use a glue stick, but I just find it easier with the brush. And also, if you want it to have a shine, then at the end we wash it over with PVA. So it is good if you've got PVA. Black marker, pencil ruler and a rubber. Okay, so here we go. And the last thing you'll need is tissue paper. You can use ordinary paper and just colour it in, but tissue paper works really well because you can glue it on and move it once you've glued it. So with your tissue paper, you'll need to cut it into squares. It's really time consuming, but if you make different sizes, so I've got some biggish ones and some smallish ones. So if you cut all your tissue paper, and these are the colours that I've used for Elmer. It does say white as well. Elmer does have white, but I've not put any white on. So these are all the other colours that are on Elmer. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to cut down the milk carton. If you've only got small hands, you might need somebody to help you with this because it is quite tough to cut. So first of all, just going to cut the trunk bit. There we are. And then to cut off, we need to measure just to get it so that it does stand straight. So with your black marker, some milk cartons have a line around them, and that's quite handy. So I'm going to measure, let me see, 2 inches, 1.5 inches all the way around. We're just going to put some marks around on each side. This is just going to be a rough guide to help with the cutting. Yeah, it's going to be there. And then just make a hole further down so you can cut them up. And we're going to cut round. Once you get going, it's not too bad. There we are. Now we can keep that bit just to put bits of rubbish in. Now his trunk's a little bit long there, so I'm just going to trim that a little bit more. Ooh, there we go. There we go. So that's the main body of our elephant. Now you'll notice to make his legs, all we need to do is cut an arch on each side. You can draw it on with your marker, but I find it's quite easy just to cut like a railway tunnel on each side. The only thing you want to do is make sure those aren't too thin, because if they're thin, they'll be a bit flimsy and you might not stand up very well. So here we go. I'm just going to this one. Okay, so now we're going to start gluing our tissue paper on. So we'll put some glue onto the trunk, and then which colour should we start with? You can overlap it underneath, or you can just make it go right to the very edge. And then just put a bit of glue down the side. What is handy to have is a flannel or a cloth. Just if your fingers get a bit gluey, you can just wipe them on that, and maybe a piece of kitchen towel, because it does get a little bit sticky, and you need to take your time with it. If you try to rush it, you might end up with gaps, and if you've got a white milk carton, then the gaps show through. So just take your time and place your tissue papers on. You can overlap them a little bit. So cover the whole of your elephant. I'm going to finish that now, and then we'll get on to the ears. Okay, so that's taken me about an hour and 2 cups of tea to completely cover Elmer. It's still a little bit wet, but I'm going to show you now how to do the ears and the eyes. So if you have your piece of card, just fold it in half. So to make a flap to stick on, just do a little bit like that, and then the ear is sort of I don't know, a bit like a bean or a cloud. Cut that out, and I'll just show you the eyes. I've got them ready here. The eyes are very simple, just a circle of black with a dot in the middle. Okay, so I've got them all ready here. So we're just going to put a little blob of glue on, and then we'll have one there. And one there. Oh, got a little bit of tissue paper on. Good thing is you can always move them around just to get them in the right place. When you've cut out your ears and you've got 2 separate ears, just cover them with more tissue paper. These are slightly wet, and then we're going to just glue those on. And then the final thing to do is, if you have PVA glue with a little bit of water in, is just to again go over all of it just to seal it. And that's when you can just as well make sure there's plenty of glue over your ears just to seal that in. Do the ears as well, cover the whole Elmer, and that will mean that when it's dried it's quite solid and nice and shiny. And there's just one more thing I want to show you before you go off and make your own Elmers. So I'm sure you know that Elmer Day is coming up on the 23rd of May, and Elmer Day is the day that all the elephants decorate themselves to look colourful like Elmer, and Elmer decorates himself just to be a grey elephant. So I've made some elephants here to match the decorated ones. These 2 I just covered with strips of tissue paper. I did use Pritt, the glue stick, to do that, and then when it was all covered, I just used felt tips to make the hearts and the dots. And this one I covered again with the tissue paper strips, and then used other tissue paper to stick the dots on. And maybe I'm going to try and do some of these other ones when I've got enough milk cartons. But maybe you could have a go as well. But try Elmer first, and then if you enjoy making Elmer, you can move on to some of these and make yourself a whole herd of elephants. So I hope you enjoy making Elmer, and have a happy Elmer Day.